What is happening, y'all? Gabe with Junction Auto Salon, back with the next episode of the Dirt series. It is detailing in real time, where I show you just exactly how long some of these steps take. Today we're going to do a two-step paint correction on this Audi SQ5, particularly right here. I'm going to show y'all exactly what this takes, how long the process is just for this tiny section. Now, you may have seen other videos with this car. We are just doing a one-step paint correction. The reason why this section is getting a two-step paint correction, basically from about here to down to this door and around to this line right here. This car was in an accident or something happened. There was a bunch of body work done to this, and this was repainted by a body shop here in town. If you want to look at it, I'm not sure if this is going to overexpose immediately, but you can see in this panel how there is swirling, holograms, buffer trails, just about everything you could imagine that can go bad with paint is bad on this panel. These panels, I've done some test spots and stuff down here. Everything's going to turn out great, but I want to walk y'all through the process of exactly what needs to happen. So on this section, it's a smaller section, so we are going to use a 3-inch polisher. Don't mind the dingy looking pad that is supposed to be white. That's actually kind of normal for some of these cars, especially in the Houston area. As cars get driven through just the regular elements, they pick up some like heavy nasty. They pick up some heavy nasty, and it gets kind of embedded into the paint. That just a deep scouring, like a deep exfoliation, deep polish of the paint is going to bring that out. There's no iron remover, there's no clay bar that's necessarily going to get that stuff out. You really do need to polish it, and it turns a pad gray, but you just have to run with it. You got to keep it blown out. We can do the pad blowout again. So turn it on, take the air compressor, and that's it. You have a nice primed, clean pad surface, so we can get started. So for this one, this is a microfiber cutting pad. We are going with a medium polish. It's still going to leave behind the necessity of doing a polish step just to refine it. The rest of the car does not look like these two panels, so it's got to go in for a bit of a heavier correction. I've been using just a regular lighter polish with this pad because the clear coat on this car is genuinely pretty hard, and it's turned out pretty well, but I had to step it up, and then I'll have to polish it out. So just get this kind of dabbed into the area. Dab, 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 dab. Dab, 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 dab. Alright. Now, if you've seen any of the other polishing or paint correction videos, I'm just here as a guide for the tool itself. I am letting it do the work. I am letting the pad and the polish do what it's supposed to do. There's no reason to necessarily force it. It is not as bad as some of the things that have come through the shop before. So we're just making slow passes. I'm making sure that the backing plate and the pad are spinning and orbiting at the same time. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure, maybe light to medium pressure. I'm just guiding the pad to do what it's supposed to do. All I'm doing is managing the angle, managing through like this body line right here. I don't necessarily want to concentrate on that. Some of these body lines on these cars may not have the most paint and clear coat like the rest of the car does. And also, I'm not trying to heat the pad and the paint up terribly. You can cause what is called paint swell, and that will technically give you a false correction immediately. Everything will kind of swell up around the swirls and scratches and fill them in and make them look great. And then you get more of the way through your process for polishing, and once all that's done, it'll start to cool off after a while, and it'll go right back to the way it looked before. So all those swirls will just come right back. That's not what we want. Alright, see the pad kind of matted down a little bit. May have used a little bit too much polish there, but we're still doing fine. Get that wiped off. Alright. So, just another inspection. You can see that we are in a world of difference from where we started. If it's not immediately overexposing in the camera, I don't know how that really does. I left the lights on. I'm trying to keep my distance from the paint and get really up close, and everything may just be hilariously overexposed. But as you can see, those swirls are gone. Again, just to give you an idea of where we started, that's where we started at, and this is where we are headed. So there's a very, very, very fine haze that you may not be able to pick up on the camera. This is part of the process of a two-step correction. You are mechanically removing as much as possible as quickly as you can without damaging the paint. So once that's done, you may have just a little bit of marring left behind from the machine. So when we hit that point, we go into a polishing step. I know that because the clear coat on this car is a little bit harder, that I can go into my polishing cabinet here. I need to grab not a finishing pad, because that will just be there forever and a day. We don't need a finishing pad. We don't need a polishing pad. We need a mid-cut pad to help remove the rest of that hazing, and that's exactly what this is. This is a Lake Country, just their regular plain Jane mid-cut pad, foam pad. There's nothing special about it. Oh, and we need the finest polish that you have, which mine is Koshkimi Micro Cut, which is what this is right here. So get that put back, and then we'll get into the polish step of this particular section. So this is, when I do a test spot, when I go through my process to tell the customer what's going on with their paint, this is exactly what I do. The car has been washed, the car has been stripped down, the paint is bare, the paint is naked, there is nothing on it. So what we want to do first is prime the pad, and I do that with a little bit of Meguiar's Last Touch Detailer. Just a few spritzes. We can blow that out. This gets the pad a little bit softened up and ready to go onto the paint because it is brand new. So what we're going to do is just take a little bit of this, and it goes just like that to get the pad primed. So now it doesn't look terribly evenly distributed on the pad, but there is polish everywhere, and that particular pad priming will work just fine. So we get that off of there, and we move on with adding a little bit of polish. You don't need a terrible lot. Oops. Or maybe you do need a terrible lot because, you know, stuff. So we'll just get this moved around, and we'll go into just polishing. This step usually doesn't take near as long as the cut step does, because all the work is done. All you're doing is removing anything that was left behind by the cutting pad and by the compound, or the heavier polish. So kind of angle into this groove right here. And then you want to make sure you're kind of leaning into this body line right here as well, so you can get all that polished out. Quick time over this section, and I think we'll be okay. Again, this really doesn't take much. Told you to use a little bit of polish, and then a whole lot came out, so we're just adjusting and moving on because I'm just a big dumb animal. Get this wiped off. Be nice and thorough about it, and then we take the light to it. Done. That is, I'm gonna call that 95% perfect. Now you can see my reflection with the stupid camera on the head mount. How y'all doing? But now the paint is bright, it's cleaned out. This will be ready for a carport eraser to prep the surface for a coating, and it will be time to put a coating on it as soon as the rest of the car is done. But that's this section. I got to do the rest of this. I've got to finish the sides of the car. The roof is done, the hood is done, but that's it. We're going to move on to the next thing. I'll see y'all in the next video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Junction Auto out.